there. So first, thank you so much for coming to the webinar, Build the Capability Your Organization Needs, Not the Skills That Your People Want. Again, Jack Gottlieb, CEO, Total Solutions Group. For those of you, of course, that don't know who this other fine gentleman is with me on his screen at his home office, Joe Urbanski is our Chief Operating Officer. He also is with me at the conference. We both did, and Ann's aware of this, one of the clinics at Training Conference on rethinking, rebuilding, and reinforcing your culture, which we just did. So he just decided to kind of join. Why not? So with that, let's get started. So, obviously I would be remiss. Well, first, sorry, forgot to mention, Ann already knows this. Real quick, top right corner for Zoom, you can swap shared screen with video. So you can basically make Joe and myself smaller, the PowerPoint bigger. You can do a full screen share, whatever your comfort level is. What you'll also notice, certainly on the bottom middle, there's a chat button. I do have that open right now, a Q&A button. You can certainly leverage that as well. And a raise hand. Everybody do me a favor, hit the raise hand button, please, just so I know you're here. Perfect. I'll be referencing that throughout so we stay engaged. All right. So I'd be remiss, and Ann certainly saw this from the Culture Clinic piece, but I'm going to reference this in terms of capability. So look, we all know there's a tremendous amount going on right now that what feels like 3 months has only been 2.5 weeks. I mean, if just really think about that. It has only been 2.5 weeks since this really hit. We were at the training conference 3 weeks ago. Was this even really on the top of your mind? No, we were aware of it. It's how quickly this has hit and changed everything. But this is a more powerful time, even beyond the progression and intention you had in coming to the conference, you had with your own strategy, even with Ann, who works with one of the cruise liners, and we know how obviously impacted they are, to build capability to not just remote work and the ability to work from home and Zoom and Microsoft Teams, right? There's just an unbelievable amount, which is great, of free value from all corners of the bigger industry of learning, development, training, et cetera, on how to do things. But how are we building the capability for people so that beyond what we are just trying to tread water on, we can give people that confidence and that capability to really be successful? If you really think about it, by a show of hands, so that little raise hand button, how many of you feel that whether it's the New York Times, Washington Post, USA Today, Associated Press, President himself, any medium of media, right? How many of you feel that all the different things that are coming out to us is building greater capability? Show of hands, it's helping us build greater capability. I'm not saying that the information, the updates, what's going on, I'm not saying it's all bad. Show of hands of the configuration of this from our country, from our government, from other parts of our state or country. How many of you actually feel that it's helping us build capability? How many of you feel it's creating at times more confusion and uncertainty? Show of hands. Okay, right? So skill building, development, modular, video, virtual, all that stuff, workbooks, tools, how we're setting people up, that's all we need to do. How do we take what we did in the session and drive forward to not just what we need for our bigger future, but what we need today, right? So we talked about 3 key components, right? To build capability, we first have to create value by building real strategy and organizational capability. We have to then deliver solutions, not just training, not just workshops, not just programs, not just in time learning, especially today, by unlocking that KPI metric blueprint. And how do we really drive peak performance from that? And then specifically generate results by driving alignment, agility, and readiness. That is something that we're going to be spending our most time on. And you see here, because I made some tweaks, driving is not spelled right. That's what happens when you try to tweak things to support the changing reality. Drive again. See, I'm human, I can admit that. So let's just create a kind of a quick recap first, and then we're going to delve in. So first, the 4 cornerstones, you might recall: our marketplace, where we play; our customers, who we serve; our organization, who we are; and then people, who lives and drives it. That's what we need to build our culture and strategy off of. So when we talk about building capability, it's ensuring our people can take ownership and have that confidence and certainty to be successful, to drive our organization forward in these very constant changing times. And I'll reference the coronavirus purely for context so that this is arming us for what we need today beyond what we need in the future, right? Future could be 3 months from now, right? For our customers, how we really go above and beyond to support them in terms of where they are, even beyond maybe the services that we certainly provide, and how does that support our position and impact in the marketplace. So we had went through these 4 fundamental questions, right? Because this is a bigger blueprint that we build this for an organization, not just in terms of their culture and strategy, but capability. And this is honestly key questions that are really critical for you now outside of the LT, which you recall was long-term or next year. You can go and ask these questions to your key stakeholders right now with this idea of, based on what we know over the next month, over the next week, and tomorrow. And then you ask these questions, right? Marketplace, customer, org, and people. Our biggest ability to create value, right? Because to build capability, we've got to make sure we're creating value, which is about real understanding first. Capability is what? The ability and being able and having that capacity to be able to be successful. Skills don't necessarily allow that. Just because you're competent doesn't mean it allows that, because your competency, your skill building, your expertise, if you will, only works as well as the environment and the ecosystem by which it sits, which is your organization, your departments, and how those departments work together, workflow, technology, et cetera. So these fundamental questions, take the parentheses and just put month, week, and day. Doesn't mean you're asking these questions every day of every leader. But frankly, one of the things that we've seen a lot of good feeds that Joe and I do get for the company. There are a lot of companies that are doing daily feeds with updates, right? So it could be something like that with your key leaders, right? It could be weekly, every other day, right? That's where these questions still add a tremendous amount of power with it. And when we do that, we can start to position intelligence that while this is about, of course, building capability now, the next quarter, year, and long term, but we can start to package what we're uncovering and provide it out to our organization so that we are building capability by owning the narrative of what is constantly changing and fluctuating, and how are we creating direction as learning and development professionals and leaders to drive that forward. So that's kind of a recap and a reinforcement of that. Delivering solutions. We talked about the key aspect of delivering solutions is metrics. So you might recall this powerful article that I did send to you as part of the follow-up. Don't let metrics undermine your business. How many of you, by a show of hands right now, are metrics still a critical part of your business in what you're dealing with right now? Right? We're trying to measure base level service, base level support, financials, etc. Powerful insight is in the absence of relevant and compelling strategy, the metric becomes the strategy. Right now, what is the narrative that you are delivering and or being delivered from your organization out that maybe is clouding the bigger picture with this, right? So for example, just to keep it simple, in sports, right? If somebody hits 54 home runs, right, in baseball, we all know baseball, that would be a tremendous number, right? Anything over 30 is good. 40 is always considered like, wow, like super all-star. 50 is like, wow, you're amazing. But what if your batting average was 195? What if you struck out like a record 300 times? Meaning, yeah, you hit 54 home runs, but let's say every other at bat you struck out. Again, 54 home runs, oh good, we got to sign him. Well, you know, in sports, like in business, like your business, like yourself, what are we tracking and looking at? Right? Because at the end of the day, what's powerful is our KPIs now, especially with what's going on, what we're measuring, what we're sharing, need to tell the right story of what's really going on and what we want to have happen for our marketplace, customers, org, and people. What is the story that we're trying to tell? But we have to make sure our people fully understand the story being told so that they'll ask better questions in order to make better decisions. For example, knocking Italy at all, this is just some facts. There was a lot of, if you've probably seen, a lot of articles and questions about, wow, why has Italy become the new ground zero? Why is that the new epicenter of really this pandemic in terms of what's going on? Well, a lot of studies have kind of come forward with this, which is specifically, one, they have a much older population. If you compare them to the US, they have a much older population on average than we do. Smoking is a lot heavier than we do. The way they greet each other, as you know, the kiss on the cheeks, right? That's there. A lot of folks, including our clients that are out there, said that they didn't take this as seriously. People were still out commiserating, communal. We do know in a lot of parts of EMEA, a lot of different countries, right? It's customary that we're going to go out for 3-hour dinners, right? It's that whole social aspect. So a lot of things among about 6 or 7 other things that came up in an article. It's not knocking. It's this idea of what is the right story. Think of all the headlines that we're chasing as a society right now. It doesn't mean it's not valuable, but we should be connecting context and creating context versus chasing headlines. That's the same for our business and how we process this information so that, let alone what it is we're trying to do overall, despite this unprecedented challenge, how we move forward with that. So what were the 5 key metric categories that are really needed to be successful? So 1, purpose and path. How do we take our greater purpose and path, turn that into a metric? For example, we can take whatever identity and strategic path we're on, whether it's just that one key, really most important goal, or if it's a series of goals, and how do we create some metrics around how we're focusing on it, how often that we're leveraging it, what all of us are doing right now that beyond our roles are connecting to it. You can measure what often seems unmeasurable. It's a whole other piece that we work with companies on, but it's not just quantitative measurement. 2, possibilities and pain points, right? So in our organizations, in our marketplaces, what are the greater possibilities that we're looking at so that we're providing people on a qualitative level? Here are the 3 greater possibilities that we have right now in our market with our customers, long-term and now. And now can be about how we create value and support our clients, how we deliver solutions even in these tough times, right? What are those possibilities? What are those pain points? And how do you measure that? You start to get people to share maybe what their view of that is, how they're seeing that within their market, their region, their department, right? Measurement can be the progression of ideas and insights so that we're measuring not just input or number, but how it's creating actual progression, right? 3 is potential of not only our business, but our people. 4 being performance, how we perform off that potential. And 5 is power. Power being how we and this is something that came from the Microsoft quote, you might recall. Microsoft used the licenses that they sell for Microsoft Office, that's not the main metric. That would be performance. Power is about the usage of that, because their bigger vision and mission is about the potential, our performance, productivity. That's their purpose and path, which they measure. What are the possibilities that we have in the market and the customer segments they serve? What are their pain points? What is the potential we and our people have? What is the performance that we want to have? What do we want to sell? What do we want to get out there? And how do we know what we're doing is powering them forward? These can be leveraged by you even for yourself. So you create a roadmap that helps cover the bigger why to the greater impact, which is power, and everything in between. So this, you might recall, is our kind of four versions upgraded of the standard 9-box grid, which you might recall X and Y axis is potential and performance. So this blueprint, you might recall, is about really how we both can assess, evaluate, develop, and integrate individuals into teams within a department or business unit, now that connects to an organization. First thing you might recall is uncovering the attitude. What drives our people? What does drive your people? When it comes to the marketplace that you as an organization are in, the customers that you serve, organizationally overall, and their career, right? Are they economically motivated? Are they impact motivated? Or are they both? Is it just about responsibility and opportunity? Do you know what drives your people so that even with what we're going through today, we are better able to tap into and integrate them and keep them really engaged so they do take ownership? So attitude is about really uncovering those key areas. Capability, how we need to, hence this session, best create value, deliver solutions, and generate results. It's not about competency, it's about capability, right? So we need to uncover, evaluate, and build forward these pieces. This is something that we build for organizations in a way in which that helps really take the talent aspect of our business from talent management to talent optimization, skill building to capability building. So when not just we as an organization, but our people understand their potential, right? This is about ownership, not just engagement. How do we then unlock and evaluate how they execute, how they absolutely can get things done so we can succeed sustain, and replicate what we're doing well, but also what we want to make sure that we want to eliminate that we don't do well so that we can pivot when needed. And lastly, results. How do we want to make sure we accomplish results? So this kind of represents a blueprint you can do for yourself on a weekly basis. You can leverage this framework to say, with your people, daily, weekly, monthly, what does our attitude need to be about? It could just be about our marketplace and customers overall, the organization, and for yourself. 3 bullet points that each week somebody defines and commits to as part of their focus for the week. What is the capability that you need to further activate and or build or work on to support not only your attitude, but our greater focus for the week? How does that connect into how you need to execute? What do you need to do to be most effective? What distractions do you need to minimize? Where is it that you need support? Great. How will that set us up for results? What else do you need to ensure that how you execute sets up results? That's a between department aspect within their department. This is not just about evaluation and measurement, but to deliver solutions in our space, we've got to make sure we not only are looking at the right KPIs, but these two specifically when it comes to our people, so that beyond quarterly reviews or annual reviews or monthly, we're empowering them to be successful. And again, you can start to really look at this as to when it comes to the C-suite senior team, down to our solutions, down to our business unit regions, departments, and people. You can start to really look at, even simply even right now, what are the top 3 things our senior team needs from our organization over the next month? Attitude, capability, execution, results. What does that mean in terms of our products and services? Or what does it mean in terms of just all of our people? We keep it simple, right? Or if it's specific regions of the world, like what we do with a lot of our clients who have regions in EMEA. Very differently right now with Italy, with Germany, with the UK, with Ireland, et cetera, even more so than what we're dealing with in the United States, right? So what do we need? How does it relate down to you as a way to provide guidance, deliver solutions to our organization, right? So that's kind of part 2. So with that, what I want to pause on before we transition this for about what will be 20 minutes, the section we didn't get to. First things first, when you look back on the recap we just provided, show of hands, for how many of you was both the session we did at training conference and just recapping what we went through? For how many of you is this valuable as we reconnect to this, even in today's time? How many is this valuable? Excellent. So let's do this real quick. I'm actually going to, only got a few people. I'm going to unmute Christy, Anna Mary, each of you, just for a couple minutes here. Doesn't mean you all have to speak, but I do want to give an opportunity, hold on, to share, if you would like. Why is this still relevant for any of you today when it comes to building the capability of your organization? So as we recap, before we do a quick little immersion to what we didn't get to, who would like to go first? We'll just get 1 or 2 people here as to why is this valuable for you even today in terms of what we're talking about. Who would like to share? I've unmuted the 3 of you.
This is Mary.
Oh, go ahead, Mary.
I was going to say, this has actually somewhat been valuable, particularly today's time with the everyone needing to be out of the office with coronavirus. We still have to participate in getting people trained and cross-trained in our different products. So being able to keep our focus on generating the results and delivering the right solutions to our internal and external clients has been extremely valuable. Appreciate
that. Appreciate that. I think, Christy, you were about to share. Please go ahead.
Sure. Jack, I think I shared that our company had just experienced data around a definite culture change, moving us to be a developmental organization. I'm now trying to look at ways, methods, processes to do the next culture change, which is to get everybody in the firm to be a development person of other people.
Correct.
And so I see your framework or some of the things you're talking about linking specifically to business results. And
yes,
it's kind of what I have a tagline I say, but this next round is much more difficult because I need to recruit and get everybody else on board. And some of the language you use, I think, could be helpful in getting them on board.
No, I appreciate that. And Anne, I think you had a comment as well. I think I saw your window pop up.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're in a little strange position. We don't have crew on board to train, and the crew we do have on board, we're trying to get home.
Wow.
So it's a little weird, but for me, it's a great time to sit back and rethink about, okay, what's our strategy once everyone gets back on board, and how do we move forward going from there? And we kind of get to start from zero and start from scratch. So I want to start strong from scratch.
That's awesome. I'm just going to mute all of you just so that we minimize background noise here. But excellent points that you all just made, because at the end of the day, what's really powerful about this, going back to Christy's point, you go back to those initial 4 cornerstones. It's about stripping away that word learning and development. It's stripping away if we're in talent or HR. We're really focused on creating value by first unlocking and understanding strategically what is going on with the business today and what do they see as the need in terms of the capability we need, not just for tomorrow, but today. And that then creates the bridge, because you can create alignment with anybody, right? I mean, honestly, you've got to really work backwards from how they think, how they're wired, what really is their kind of driving force, right? Could be the CEO, could be a head of a division or department. And then really be able to kind of connect backwards without any, hey, I'm coming from an L&D meeting. Nope. Hey, I want to talk about L&D and I have some questions up front. Nope, because then it's about L&D, it's not about your questions. And that allows us to deliver solutions by then being able to measure what it is we need to look at, from purpose and path to possibilities and pain points to overall, what does that mean in terms of our potential and performance that we need, and how is that going to power us forward with the impact we want? That's what this is about. So again, I shared this on earlier just a moment ago. Sorry for the misspelling on driving. I have no idea how that even happened. I am human. But let's actually take a look at now how we generate results. We didn't get to this section. So we're going to spend about 15 minutes or so on this so that I can get you some other value that we didn't even get to last session. So this is from 2018, which I know seems like 5 years ago now with everything that's transpired, but still really powerful, from LinkedIn. 94% of employees said they would be more likely to stay in a role longer if their employer clearly committed to investing in their career. Keyword being investing in their career, not training them, not developing them. Yeah, okay, but investing in their career. However, the same employees said they didn't have the free time to learn new skills or engage in additional training to bolster the skills they have. This means it's the responsibility of the employer to make learning a priority, right? A lot of our clients that have billable percentages, very much, Christy, like your organization as well, but in the engineering space, right? Training is viewed as non-billable, but we don't look at training as an asset, right? We should have, if we're in a billable world, like how are we building assets, building capability? What are those hours for? Training is still viewed as an integer of time spent. Maybe time learning, but not value. Again, create value, right? Create value, deliver solutions, generate results, right? Now, this is the title of a leadership book, believe it or not, from, oh God, well over a decade ago, called Change or Die. It's written by a heart surgeon by the name of Dr. Alan Deutschman. And the simple kind of summary of this is, he ran a, Krista, you had your hand up. Did you, thank you, Joe. Did you have a question? Hold on a second.
I don't.
Oh, you don't? You were just raising your hand?
It was just up from the last time.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. So basically he had 50 patients that his small practice served. And he said one day, you know, I'd like to go back 3 years ago, to see how those top 50 people fared, because we know they were our most serious patients. If they didn't make the changes necessary, we know they would die. Okay, and he asked, how many of them do you think are still living today? Some people felt, well, and they had pictures of the people. And he says, well, some people felt, oh, definitely 30, 25, 40, decent numbers. So they made phone calls to the families. And what they found out is only 10% of people were still living. 5 people. It wasn't because of complications from the surgery. There was the surgery, post-op, normal rehab, and then they were kind of on their way back to the regular practitioner, right? Wow. He said, we're going to make changes going forward. So from now on, we're going to have people sign a contract. In that contract, it's going to stipulate beyond, pre, during, post-op, and beyond that normal rehab cycle, they have to commit to us post that 12 months, once a month, to come back to our center and really engage in some very intentional coaching and support to ensure they're successful. In doing so, this is what we're going to do. They're going to walk in, we're going to ask them, one, what went well, what didn't go well, what did you learn over the past month? Great. Two, what is your plan? What are your top 2 or 3 goals for your nutrition, your sleep, your overall fitness and wellness, your activity, etc.? What's most critical for you in those buckets in the next month? Great. Let alone what like their bigger year plan is. 3, where do you most need to improve in order to ensure progression and success that you will be able to build confidence in going forward? Lastly, what do you need to do to be empowered so that when you walk out this door, you are set up for movement and execution versus all great things said, but then you actually don't commit? They would ask them these questions once a month and really probe, really dig in for them to own that path, not just be somewhat engaged into it. Then they would go back and say, great, let's do some nutrition counseling. Let's do some work at our gym. Let's coach you. Let's support you. Collaborative effort, generating results that people can own, right? Versus just checking boxes. 3 years later, they did a study of that group of 50. 77% were still living 3 years later, in almost 8 times more than the original 50 they'd served just a couple years before. That is the power of how you generate results in training, in coaching, working with your executives. With that being said, let me share with you one piece here from McKinsey. Great research. This will be something that I will send out to you. Why does leadership development, any training fail? Number one, we're overlooking context. What did we just say before? All the articles, all the pieces out about the coronavirus, all the things coming out. Sometimes you feel like we're doing well. Sometimes you feel like we're not doing well. Sometimes I feel like things are progressing when the market goes up, then the market drops down again, right? There's no context that we can kind of aggregate beyond a map that shows how many people were infected. What is the context? What is the narrative? There are posts on Facebook, which I don't go on, but my wife does, that actually a couple of people were posting a lot of successes, a lot of progression of what is going well, treatments that are being worked on, people that are being cured on their own. And Facebook took it down. Now, maybe that was people over-popularizing that we're getting a cure. I get that. But the idea is people were really angry, saying, no, this is real stuff that's out there. Why is Facebook suppressing? There's no context. That's key in training. That's key in business. That's key in culture. 2, understanding mindsets. What are the mindsets of your people? Do you know that, or do you just assume that right now with what's going on? Where are their mindsets at when it comes to marketplace, customer, organization, and themselves? Imagine if you just asked that question. What is your mindset right now? How do you view the greater possibilities and pain points of our future? Imagine if you asked that question. Decoupling reflection from real work. We're not taking time to reflect and really give people the permission to stop. How does this relate to me now? How does this relate to me going forward? What does that mean in terms of what I need to work on? And how do I need to be empowered, which we just talked about, right? And we're not measuring results. We're just measuring output, right? Or measuring input. Critical research piece. I will make sure to get that to you, but a lot of powerful stuff in there. This is from 2014. All right. So with that, 4 fundamentals we need when it comes to training to ensure that what we do drives results. First is framework. The framework you want to deploy is what we call in a lot of our culture transformation and strategic work, common core uniquely applied. Think of this like McDonald's. You go to a McDonald's anywhere around the world, you will get the same hamburger, french fries, and milkshake, no matter where you go. But if you go to Italy, obviously when things are open and safe, you can get pasta there. You can go to Japan and get sushi, right? There are different foods. Even in Canada, they have different foods, although the common foods are the same. Common core, uniquely applied. Our training, how we partner with stakeholders, how we design and deliver training, how we make sure we drive follow-up, we've got to make sure what is the common core everyone needs to know, connect on, how this will work. But how do we uniquely apply it so it's still about those leaders? We need focus. We've got to drive ownership, not engagement. It's about the individuals, it's about the teams, it's about whether it's regions or business units, if you're that large, and the organization. We've got to drive ownership, not engagement. It's not just about us, it's about the organization. It's not just about us and the organization, it's about our customers. It's just about that, but it's about our marketplace. It's not trying to create more, just trying to make sure that we're owning an impact, not just engaging in the work. Frequency, more powerful now than even yesterday, right? We've got to make sure that our methodology of what we're training, whether it's technical, soft skills, strategic, how we, obviously are doing remote work, it's spaced and a connected experience, not just a series of events. Spaced and connected so that we can what? Have the kind of focus to ensure we drive ownership. And part of it is what? Reflecting, planning, improving, empowering. Giving people the opportunity to really have a time space that is allowing them to progress, not just learn stuff. That is huge. And follow through, we've got to facilitate an experience. Don't just train a class, even in today's time. How many of you, by show of hands, is this probably one of the more engaging webinars because I'm interacting with you right now? Show of hands. Right? Exactly. So that's huge in that space. Right? It's this idea that we really need to make sure things are successful. And Christy, thank you for your comment. You mentioned it's power skills. True, but there's a lot of articles and research, even that's still coming out, that's still referencing soft skills. And at the end of the day, it's just about pure capability. We can be technically proficient all day long, but if we don't, again, have the capability to how do we apply that, that would be my even more universal term. But Christy, thank you for sharing that. These are your 4 fundamentals that you, with your team and with your stakeholders, when we talk about how we generate results, we need the right framework, we need the right focus, we need the right frequency, we need the right follow through. And you can position this inside of even a daily, a weekly, all the way down to monthly. Doesn't matter. It could be over 6 months, could be over 5 days. All about making sure you have a dynamic approach that ensures what we're doing can generate results. So let me share with you how this works. And I've already positioned this based on the story I told. And from that story I heard 10 years ago, this is one of our fundamental, more powerful processes that we leverage, not just for L&D, but organizationally. You want to make sure on an annual, which I know is very irrelevant right now, monthly, as of right now, irrelevant because of how much is changing. Weekly and daily, yes. We want to make sure that we are giving people the opportunity with that for themselves, in their teams, and or cross-functionally or globally, depending upon those roles and responsibilities, to reflect daily and weekly. Huddles and scrums are more or bigger meetings, and monthly as well. But right now, I know we're in a very daily, weekly culture. Hopefully, what will be just the next month as we get some semblance of confidence about what's happening, what's going on. But think about this. We want to have people reflect daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and shorter daily, obviously, than it is longer. Imagine the power if we got people to reflect on how we did. This goes back to what we talked about in Deliver Solutions. Performance, get people to share. Tell me about how you perform, the results that you achieve there. How did you execute to get there? What is that competency and capability that you leverage to be successful in doing so? Where was your attitude at in driving all that? What went well? What didn't go well? What did you learn? Same exact 4 pieces we talked about before. Plan. Well, from a planning aspect, we want to know organizationally, which goes back to our 4 cornerstones. What is the impact that you want to accomplish tomorrow, next week, next month? What do you need to drive forward in order to make that successful? What do you need to build in order to ensure success? What does that mean to your people? We need people to reflect. We need people to plan. Improve. Where do you need to improve in your performance and results over the next day, week, month, whatever that might be? Where do you need to improve in how you need to execute to get there? Where do you need to improve in your overall competency, skills, again, capability to be successful? Where do you need to improve in terms of your attitude, whether it's your mindset, what drives you? Where do you need to improve? How will you do that? What do you need to shift? What do you need to simplify? Where do you need support? And then lastly, from empower, what do you feel you'll need to implement? How will you activate it? And how will you integrate it? So implement is like, how are you going to put this to work? Activate it is so that you can use it in its normal everyday occurrence. Think about when you first started using a new iPhone or a new Samsung. First time. It's like, wow, this is new. Everything is different. And then after you use it, every day, right? It's normal for you. So implement is, I got to put this into my business or team. Activate is, I got to get this started. Integrate is, how do I make this a normal habit? we want to be able to set up the value we create by understanding what's going on in the business, how that connects to the solutions we need to deliver in respect of right metrics, right framework for our people, and how do we generate results? We've got to really make sure that beyond the framework, focus, frequency, and follow through, that every day and week for ourselves and with our teams, we're reflecting, we're planning, we're improving, and we're empowering. And the power of this is we're giving people a voice and a connection to not the noise and not the headlines and not the realities, but overall the business. Show of hands for how many of you is this really powerful? Because I can do this with you. If you were one of our team members, I can do this with you in 5 minutes. It's just a shorter, abbreviated version that's just about today and tomorrow versus the past week and next week versus past month, next month. Show of hands, how many of you see that as a powerful tool in terms of driving success with that? Awesome. Awesome. So right now what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn this over. So I'm going to reopen, and Christy was able to unmute herself by herself. So possibly I don't need to do it again, but I'll do it just to be safe. Just to get from the three of you before we wrap up, insights and action for you based upon this, or just questions overall based on this new section that we didn't get to about how you can leverage this now.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So I will say the slide that I resonated the most with that had the 4 frameworks, the one I wrote down to grab was facilitate an experience, not a class. I would say that slide is one that, that one resonated, and forgive the alarm. Sorry, there's an alarm going off in my house.
That's all right. We're all human right now with human.
Right, exactly. These I can relate to. I feel like I'm actually have pieces of this. I mean, this feels familiar, and to make this more proceduralized, I will say that last slide I texted feels a bit complicated, and I think I need help translating, even though you're saying you could do it at any granularity level. It feels complicated for me.
Sure. Yeah, well, I'll throw this out to you, right?
Yeah.
What, and we won't role play this for sake of time, but what I could do with you is simply do this. How we did, right, that whole performance, that whole kind of next level 9-box grid component, at the end of the day, I can just say overall for you, great. How did things go for you yesterday in what you wanted to accomplish? Great. How did you feel you did in terms of how you executed against that? What you had to do to get there? Awesome. When it comes to kind of the skills or approach you leverage, that's like the competency capability. Talk to me a little bit about that. Great. And in terms of your kind of attitude, mindset, where are you at right now? Great. Based upon what went well, is there anything that didn't go well? What did you learn? Phenomenal. What's your goal, number 1, for tomorrow? What's one thing you need to improve? And what support you need to be successful and how you can implement all this? Right? So on a daily level, I can do this with you in 5 to 6 minutes. On a weekly level, we can go more in depth into all the pieces. But the most important piece of this is, and I'm glad you brought this up, Christy, this is both the map. You see all these key steps here. But the most important thing is that it's a compass. If I reflect with you, plan with you, improve with you, and empower you, that's the most important thing. What went well? What didn't go well? What did you learn yesterday? Great. How does it support what your 1 or 2 goals are for tomorrow? Fantastic. Where do you feel you most need to improve and what support that you need? Great. What do you need to do to feel empowered? So I can do that with you in a daily huddle inside of 5 minutes at minimum. Can certainly go longer, but even inside of, if it's a group of individuals, we can get each person to share, a reflection for them. And if for sake of time, it could just be, what is something that really built your confidence from yesterday as we grow and move forward past all this? What's one goal for tomorrow? What's one improvement you want to make for tomorrow? Where do you need to be empowered? And then when it comes to a more weekly, monthly, where you're taking a deeper dive into the past month and next month, then we can leverage the full piece here. Does that make sense?
The word using it as a map helped. And then the fact that you were processing it as a series of questions helped. I probably relate to the top level of the reflect, plan, improve, empower, and probably have a series of questions I could choose from. And I do now understand this in a better way.
Right. In terms of transforming our L&D talent HR functions to one that is building capability, this is getting to the blueprint of, we need to look at, again, their potential and their performance as part of those kind of bigger metrics that ensure what we are doing is not just creating value and delivering solutions, but generating results. The framework, which is the compass, right? Reflect, plan, improve, empower is like your north, south, east, and west. The map of where you're actually trying to go when we talk about building capability is below. but it's always about the compass before the map. And to your point, that's key. So thank you for sharing that. Anne or Mary, insights based on what we've just done in support for you.
For me, it's the frequency, because with a lot of my trainings, I go on board and deliver, and then we don't have a trainer on board. So it's figuring out ways to do the follow-up effectively and with a good frequency in order to make sure that it sticks when I'm not there.
Right, right. And again, your frequency, going back to what Chris and I just discussed, is you're going to do something, let's say, weekly. But then what we want to do in between that is, again, this bottom part is about just building greater capability overall with what we talked about. But the compass, the actual blue parts up top, the north, south, east, and west analogy, is you want people to reflect. Hey, based on the training you just went through, why was this worth your time? How is that going to add value for you? What is something you're still challenged by? Great. What is your plan by which to use it? How will you actually plan beyond what you plan to do? What is it you need to improve upon in order to be successful, right? So in between that space-time is where we want to make sure we get people to reflect, plan, improve, empower, so we're owning it. So I'm glad you said that, Anne, because frequency is the most critical key. How do we give space so that in what we're learning, what we're talking about right here is how we own it. So that was great. Not that you have to have anything, Mary, but I want to be sensitive to everybody's time. Did you have any final thought, Mary, before I wrap this up for today?
Actually, my comment was kind of just like, sorry, was that Anne who spoke last?
Correct.
Trying to get that idea of frequency down pat, I guess, with the consistency of checking in with people, because we have so many people spread throughout doing training and more individualized on the job type training. So trying to make sure that feedback gets back to the management is kind of where we need to focus on ours.
Love that. Love that. And what it's about for all of you is making sure that you are setting up today, before each training and after each training, with the stakeholders and potentially with your people, if you can get them on a webinar, how we can ensure that we can get some bite-sized pieces to make sure that we are getting people before the training. What's really most important for you to accomplish? How does that connect down to not only your role, your team, but what we're doing for our customers and our marketplace, right? During the training, as long as it is spaced out, we want to give people the ability to reflect, to plan, to improve, to empower, so that they're able to process what came, that's reflection, plan so they can see how that vision and path is that they see this helping to support, where they need to specifically improve based on what they've just learned, and how will they be empowered to be successful, right? That's huge. And then either in between, but certainly after the training, again, what was valuable to you? What went well? What didn't go well? How will you ensure that you are going to, just as we did here before, what are you going to implement? How will you activate it? How will you integrate it? Again, what support do you need? So I thank you all for that. So as we wrap up here today, just to get right on time, although we are a minute past, so I apologize for that. We'll wrap up right here. Look, if we can be of help, and I know, Christy, we're already set up for our call tomorrow, which is great, but if we can be of help to you, even with everything that is going on, please email us at answers@tsgresults.com. What are you looking for support in? Why is that critical? When do you want to connect? We are leveraging a lot of our strategic work virtually, which we always have done. But if you can use support, great. These are some specific pieces that we're going to be offering out, both some free value-added pieces out to our clients and community, which will kind of showcase itself via both email and LinkedIn early next week. But these are some specific pieces that we've put together to support what's going on right now, and it's all virtual. It's going to be both organizational-wide value, but also individual value. So if there's any value we can be, again, please email us. Otherwise, Christy, I will talk to you tomorrow. Anne and Mary, thank you so much for both of you being here. Joe, of course, my partner in crime, is my right hand. Thank you, and wish you all nothing but great success and progression as we all go forward. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
You're very welcome. I'll call you.
All right, bye.